Now, there's one more concept that I want to discuss before we finish this chapter, and that is computed properties. So at first, when you start to use computed properties, it might all seem a little bit complicated, unnecessary, and strange, but they are really useful, and the more you use them, the more you see that, and we will be using them going forward. So in a nutshell, a computed property is a way to define a data property inside our component that depends on other data that we have inside that component that we might have up here. So for example, we might want to create an array which is called filtered books. Now, that filtered books array would depend on the books array that we have here. It's dependent on this data, and if this data changes, then our filtered array would change. Now, that filtered array might be an array of books whereby we only include books that are currently favorites. So how do we make this computed property then? Well, the first thing we do is we create a computed property inside the component object itself. Much like we have methods, we have computed as well. Then inside that, we create a function. So I'm going to call this filtered books. And this function will return a value. And then we can access that value by using this inside the template. So whatever we return here, we can access in the template. So if I just return, for example, a string saying hello, I know this makes no sense, but if I try to use this computed property inside the template, then it will give me that value. Now I'm just going to do this at the top over here, paragraph tag, and I'll output filtered books like so, and save it, and we can see we get this hello value. All right, so it works the same way as normal data properties in that respect, but we don't want to do this. We don't just want to return a value like this, otherwise we could have just done that up here. We could have created a property called filtered books inside the data object, which was hello. So this makes no sense. Like I said before, a computed property is a property that depends on other data. And then when that other data changes, this will update. View will look at that other data and update our value over here because it's dependent on it. So what I want to do is return a filtered array based on this. And to do that, I'm going to say take this .books, and remember that's how we access the different properties inside our component. We say this to reference the component and then whatever data property we want. And I'm going to use the JavaScript method filter. Now, if you don't know what this method does, definitely check out the last chapter in this course where I go through different array methods. It's covered there. But essentially, this fires a callback function for each item inside the books array. And it's going to fire that function. And if we return true each time we fire that function, we keep that item in the array. If we return false, then we're going to filter that item out of the array. So we fire a callback function for each item, and then we need to return either true or false right here. Now, each time we iterate through, we get access to the book we're currently iterating. So I can pass it in right here, and I want to return true if it's a favorite. So I can just say book.isFav. Now, that is either going to be true or false as we cycle through. So as we fire a callback function for each item, the first one is true, so that remains in the new array. If it's false, it's taken out of the array, it's filtered out. That's what the filter method does. And we're going to end up with an array whereby this one is filtered out. And we should then only have this one and this one in it. And that is the value that we're returning, that filtered array. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go over to the template, and instead of cycling through the books, I'm going to cycle through filtered books now. And now we should only see the books which are favorites, which we do. Awesome. Now, if we change one of those by clicking it, it becomes not a favorite, and therefore we shouldn't see it. Like so. Like so. And then if we refresh, we get those books back. Okay? So that is computed properties for you in a nutshell. it's a way to define data properties which depend on other data. And again, we will be using them more in different places as we go forward.